Hello everyone. In this session we would look at a CPA exam simulation that deals with what type of test are we working with when it comes to a cycle, specifically the payroll cycle, and what's the related audit objective. Is it transaction related audit objective or is it a balance sheet related audit objectives? So on the CPA exam, on the actual exam, what you will be giving is basically a statement, something like this, and you will be the type of the test. There's a drop down menu here, and when you click on the drop down menu it says test of control, substantive testing, substantive analytical procedures, test of detailed balances. Now if you don't know what these means, what does it mean, test of control, substantive testing, analytical procedures, and test of detailed balances, stop, go back to the lecture and figure out what is this before you try to solve a simulation or before you try to proceed any further. The reason I'm saying this is if you don't have a good understanding what's a test of control versus substantive testing, what's analytical procedures or test of detailed balances, you will not be able to solve a simulation like this. Then you have to determine, after you looked at the scenario, determine the type of the test. You need to determine, is it a transaction related objective or a balance sheet related objective? And what is that objective? What is the objective? Is it accuracy? Is it completeness? Is it occurrence? So on and so forth. So this is what we will do. And under this box, you will have a drop down menu and will give you all the objective, and you would have to select the appropriate objective. So in this session, we will go over these transactions separately, one by one, talking about the type of the test. What type of the test are we looking at here? The transaction related audit objective, or is it a balance sheet related audit objective? Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com.
Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today.
Starting with the first audit procedure, we ask for a schedule of all payroll liabilities and reconcile that with the general ledger. So we just ask the company to obtain a schedule of all payroll liabilities and make sure it reconciles with the general ledger. What type of test is this? What are we testing? What type of test? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here what we're looking at is we're looking at the balances. So it's a test of detailed balances. Test of detailed balances. Why? Because we are looking at the total, at the balance of the payroll liabilities. Therefore, the test is test of detailed balances. Now, if it's a test of detailed balances, the balances, liabilities are on the balance sheet. So we're looking at the balance related audit objective. What do you think the audit objective here, if we ask for that? If we obtain that schedule and we reconcile it with the general ledger? Well, the first thing we want to know is, are we working with the proper figures? Accuracy. So here the balance sheet audit objective is accuracy. Let's take a look at this second scenario. Examine evidence that payroll hours and wage rate are verified by an independent person. So what are we doing here? We're reviewing evidence to determine whether someone at the company verify that payroll hours and wage rate are actually verified. We're examining the evidence that they are verifying it, whether they're doing it or not. We know why. Because if someone is doing it, it means we are computing the payroll properly. So what type of test is this? If you're looking at the evidence to see if they are verifying the wage rate and the payroll hours. Either they're doing it or they're not doing it. What do we call this? We call this test of control. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? We're looking to see if the transaction is accurate, because if the hourly rate and the wage rate are accurate, the transaction, if we take the rate times the hour, it's correct. Well, we're looking at accuracy for the transaction. Let's take a look at this event. Select 25 payroll journal entries and verify each against an approved time card. Well, what are we doing here? We're selecting 25 journal entries. We're looking at the journal entries and going back and determine if there is a time card, and that time card is approved, because before you get paid, before we journalize an entry, before we book an entry, we need a time card. The time card shows how many hours and that individual worked, and obviously multiplied by the rate, then we book the hours. So what are we doing here? We're basically doing two things really. One is determining if the numbers that are in the general journal, the journal entries, are already approved, yes or no. So this is a test of control. Two, but also we're looking at the actual figures to determine it for accuracy, to determine if that transaction is accurate. So basically here we're performing two tests. We're performing test of control, and the test of control here is whether we have approved time cards for the journal entries. Either we do or we don't. And when we look at the figures, at the number versus the time card, we are testing the test of transaction to determine if the transaction is correct. Well, I just told you. What's the objective? Is correct, accuracy, and occurrence if the time card was already approved. So the individual did work. So we're meeting two audit objective, and we're meeting two tests when we perform this step. Let's look at this audit procedure. Calculate payroll tax expense as a percentage of the total wages, salaries, and commission. What we're doing here is we're looking at payroll tax expense, whatever that number is, 100, and we're comparing it to total wages and salaries like 1,000, and we're determining it's 10%. What should you do? Well, go to Farhat Lectures. Look at additional resources, multiple choice, true, false, video simulations, so on and so forth, to help you, whether you are a CPA exam candidate or an accounting student. The best investment you can make is invest in yourself. Good luck, study hard, and of course, stay safe.